The topic is how to say no in a right way. We as parents always struggle of how to say no. Would we be hurting the child's mood? Would we spoil the relationship? Would child become a rebel if I say no? There's lots of confusion around it, and we remember our own days when we were said no to, and somewhere, if there was no healthy way of understanding that no, then I took that no as a rejection of me. When someone denied my request, I remember this incident one time. I had a very close friend, and we lived in the US, and she was an American. And she would always say, Shubha, ask me any help, I'll be there for you. And all right, we Indians travel quite a bit, and we always need a ride to the airport. And at least during that time, we did not have the cab services as much. This is something I'm talking about 25 years ago. So I asked her, can you drop me to the airport because I was coming to India? And she politely said, I do not drive that far. And that was kind of weird for me. And I was like, oh my God, I asked her for one favor and she rejected. So, not knowing enough at that time, I was like thinking, oh my God, she doesn't like me. She doesn't want to help me, blah, blah, blah. But now when I reflect back, maybe she had other commitments. Maybe she didn't give me the total explanation of why she was unable to drop me, and many things like that. So we jump to conclusions, and depending on my own experience of having experienced a no, I assume my children will also experience something like that, where I may lose a relationship with them. So it's better to kind of maneuver around, kind of create a situation where children, without my saying no, will do what I want them to do. That's a stretched expectation of the children. But what children are really looking at is for me to provide them a healthy boundary. Because the child's development, the growth of the child needs that freedom and also a boundary. Children need to understand where is that sweet spot. Till what time or till what extent I have the freedom, and where my freedom stops. That comes from a very clear boundary setting from the parent or the teacher in the school. That is like telling a no with great love, but with great firm tone as well. So how to say that no? The right way to say that no is to be able to manage that situation. When I have clarity in my head, when I know the cause and the effect of saying no, or not even saying an S, but kind of expecting the child to know it is a no. That's cause and effect. Can I, as a parent, understand what is a cause and effect? I want to say modern parents, there are two income families, parents are busy, nuclear families. I'll give you an example of when I was growing up. We had a neighbor, 3 children. Their second child was a little physically weak. So typically the parents never said no to him. Anything that he did was kind of acceptable, though it was not right all the time. The child very quickly learned how to manipulate, using his weakness. He must have been 3, 4, 5 years old by then. So somewhere there was this pain or fear in the parents of losing out on the child, one way or the other. So they were like, never say no to him. And the last I knew of this family, maybe 5, 6 years ago, where he would have been around late 40s, early 50s, he still had developed the same attitude. No one could say no to him. He did whatever he wanted to do. His words were the final, nothing, no discussion with his spouse or parents or anybody. Somewhere, what the parents feared, he became that, because somewhere parents were not able to set that boundary for him. As a 4 year old, what can you do? What you cannot do? Be very clear, because we are those guardians. Of course, temporary. Children will grow up, children will have their opinions, children will understand eventually, provided I stay as their guardian to begin with. Make them understand what is the right thing to say, to do, to behave, because we somehow don't want our children to be harmed. We don't want them to get into trouble, to be labeled by others. We want to protect our children. But that's exactly the reason why child needs to hear a no from me. And beginning about 5, 6 years of age, children also understand the reasons. Why am I saying no? You know, I'd love to go to your friend's place for sleepover, but I also want you to sleep early and wake up early so you will have a good night's sleep and tomorrow will not be a tiring day. So if you can go sleep by 10 in your friend's house, most welcome. If you want to sit up until 1 o'clock, maybe not this time. Just elaborate it a little bit rather than saying, no, you cannot go for a sleepover. Because we do want child to be healthy, because child cannot see what is coming up tomorrow, but I see it as a parent. Somewhere I need to develop that skill in me, not to answer in that moment, but to see the cause and the effect of it, maybe predict what may be coming, and sometimes to make children understand, allow them also under your supervision. If you have a sleepover, if you sleep late, if you don't wake up by certain time, then tomorrow's plans stand cancelled. You may have plans to go take all these children for a movie, or to a park or picnic, whatever. So you can lay that condition as a parent for child to understand, because younger children don't just understand our words even if we explain the situation. They cannot comprehend unless it is their experience. So it's good to provide them an experience, again with very clear objective in our minds, and then to allow them to explore and stick by your condition in case they fail to adhere to your requirements. So you're protecting children. They're not coming back to you and say you're cancelling on the plans, but you have said no in a polite, respectful way where they understand the cause and effect as well. We definitely want children to learn to respect others, learn to respect commodities, learn to respect their space and resources. So when they're wasting something, you will say, no, no more pizza for you because I know you will waste it. How do I know? Right? So you will say, instead of saying no more pizza, you will cut that 1/6 of the pizza into 6 more pieces and say, take one bite at a time. So you're finding a solution. So somewhere the child begins to respect the food, not waste it. Somewhere they begin to take that moral responsibility. Somewhere they preserve the dignity of themselves and others. They consider the feelings of others. We cannot, all of us, eat by ourselves. I have another example, a single child. Parents were very affluent, lots of resources. Mother was little very rhythmic, a little stingy as well. So the son, especially during Diwali time, there his father used to get loads of sweets as gifts from his customers, but mother was not very generous to kind of give and distribute to everybody. And even the child, he could not just take a piece of sweet and eat whenever. So there was a time and space for everything, and she maintained it that way, and the child was forced to do that. He could not take a piece and give it to his friends who visited him either. And now the child grows up in that restricted way, when he doesn't clearly say no like his mother did, but he doesn't give either, even to his mother. Somewhere it kind of backfired. That element, maybe that aunt of mine wanted to teach her son that give when it is time, give a bit of it, don't give everybody. We need to also save it for the family, whatever her objective was. But now the child got the essence of it. Don't give. Right? So when we say no, when we restrict, we should also predict how the child, how it might affect the child in the future. It's not just about managing the situation now. That freedom we need to give children keeps on expanding. The influence of that freedom keeps on expanding. To begin with, it could just be within the house. Then it becomes within the neighborhood. And when child grows up, is 21 years and graduates, it may be, encompassing several states or maybe countries. And the child should be managing with that freedom and creating healthy boundaries for themselves, rather than operating out of fear or restriction or my own belief system that may not be helpful in the bigger picture. Right? So cultivating that respect for effort and resources. Many children, you see people buy them gifts or you buy them gifts, and they're very curious. It's not that they want to break those toys on purpose, but they're curious to see what's going on, and they meddle with it, they bang it, throw it, catch it, whatever. And then you say, no, don't play with it, put it away, it'll break. Right? And that no feels as a restriction to the child. I want to be playing with it now, but you are stopping me. So there is that craving, that itch to kind of sneak the toy out when you are not around, and then we become more furious. But then, if it's an expensive toy, if it's a delicate toy, I would rather not even buy that for a child who cannot manage it yet. Right? And even the older children who can manage will not intentionally spoil it. They may be trying to fly an helicopter. It happened, I bought a helicopter for my children, and my son loved those, and I'm sure he did not want to intentionally break it. But then, he wanted to fly it higher, and it was a spring-loaded thing that would kind of, take off in the air and then land. And it so happened he went out in the balcony and he was playing it, and it went off the balcony and landed it 7 floors down. Of course, crashed. Right? So telling the child what could be the places he could try and where it is restricted, because things like this may happen. And some children are super curious. When you said, okay, if you go play out in the balcony, it might go out, it might land on the ground, it might break. Now the child is maybe curious to test it out. And again, it's like, all right, if you want to test it out, you know your child better. So you can test it out, but you will not get another helicopter. That's it. We buy these helicopters once a year on your birthdays. So then once they know it, that it's not easily available, readily available, drop of the hat, I will go buy it for you. And it happens with affluent parents. One of my child's friend, he had an iPhone in like grade 8 or something, and the child happened to bring it to school, and it happened to drop, and it happened to crack, and the child went back home, and he came back with a new iPhone next day. So where is the respect for the products, for the resources? And then it might be too late when I start restricting them when they're 15, 18, 21 or so. So somewhere we are saying no to help children manage or master their impulses. Especially present age and time, we're surrounded by lots of stimulus, lots of inputs, media, advertisements, the hoardings. My friends bring in variety of things. So I need to balance that inner urge. So somewhere I need to bring that element, you know, something like saying no to screens. Your mind needs rest and also play. So let's close the screens now. It's not just turn off the TV right now. It's not just that. We are trying to reduce the stimulus because this constant external stimulation definitely weakens my inner space. And that happens with me also as an adult. With children, it's much more chaotic. So, boundaries definitely help the child teach that balance and that moderation for what is essential, for what is good for my mental well being. And I need to be consistent with that. Typically I ignore, I may be busy, I don't want to say no, and I have this wishy washy yes, confusing the child a little faster. When the child persists, and I say, go do whatever you want, and they definitely will go start watching the TV, and then I'm furious at that. So somewhere this comes back to me as a parent, to exercise that no with a great clarity. Why do I want to say no to my child? I need to be in integrity. I need to walk my talk. And I need to have a courage to close it right there. I mean, it's so difficult for me also. I had a driver, and we didn't have like a set timing for him. So we allowed him to come, sometimes at 11 o'clock, sometimes at 6 a.m. And he was very obliging. And because we could not set the time, we could not restrict his hours either. We could not put a condition on him. We could not say no when he wanted to come late or things like that. I mean, if it was the job, working hours was 8 to 5 and we stuck to it, it's easier. But when I'm wishy-washy, then I need to allow others to be that also. That's like moral justifications. So all this experience kind of teach us how to say that no, in with calmness instead of being angry. Offer explanation rather than just exercise authority. Explanation again to children over 8 or 9 years of age. Until then, there could just be a story. We sleep before 9 o'clock. We want to meet angels in our dreams when they come at 10 o'clock. Whatever story that you want to make up. And definitely have respect for the child's feelings. When the child wants to say, I want to have a birthday party at this restaurant, understand why the child is wanting and then deliberate upon it. And if you think it's appropriate, have it. If otherwise, tell, we always have birthday parties at home. And later we could take your friends to the restaurant. But set that rule that we are going to have these birthdays at home, if that's what your value says. But consistency in decisions is important. I don't make one rule for one child and lax it for my other child. Or I even not between my two children. One rule for me or my children, my family, and when someone seeks my advice, I give them a totally different advice. And when children hear me, they don't trust me. And that's when they start pestering me more and testing me more. And definitely, beautiful way is to offer alternatives. We cannot have birthday party in this restaurant, and I give you these options. You can go here, you can go here, you can go another place. You pick, maybe not more than two though. Two places. You pick this place or that place. If you go to this place, you'll get one dessert. If you go to that place, you get two desserts. Maybe because we want to cut down expenses. So think about it. Offer alternatives. I did it out of my laziness. It's like the same batter. I would offer my children, you want small dosa, baby dosas, or crispy dosas. That's it. Dosa is a dosa. Same pan, same batter. But my children would fall for it. They would say, this itty bitty dosa. So I would like put these drops of dough batter on the pan and make this mini dosas. So offer alternatives helps because we want children to discipline themselves and have the self-discipline, understand the consequences. Of course, not the grave ones that suddenly drop when I lose my cool, but very consistent understanding that no is a no. Right? For certain things, we don't debate about it. But certain things I allow child. Right? So there is that emotional resilience they pick up. They need to understand, I need to persevere, I need to wait it out, I need to make my request, and when things are convenient, we will get it. Respecting myself and others, self-care, trust in the parental guidance. How many of us go back to my parents for advice? Or how many of us depend on it? Somewhere we have lost that trust in adults in general. For not that they are not good, but somehow we were not able to manage, and we kind of thrust my own expectations on the children. So I need to give that freedom to my children and also help them understand that freedom wisely. Understand till when they would have that freedom and what of their action would curtail that freedom for a limited time. We truly want child to be very independent, understand the situation and behave according to the requirements that they would be in, right? So understanding that saying no is not a rejection, because I'm being consistent, I'm understanding cause and effect, I'm understanding that healthy boundaries are a requirement. So it is not that I'm just saying no and turning my face away. Then it could register as a rejection in the child's mind. So I'm saying no to the child for certain things because I want to protect my child, because the child does not understand yet. So I need to be guiding them till the point they understand. Bottom line is, I'm preparing my child for life. And with that mindset, when I approach my children, saying no will not be a difficult thing. It would be with respect, preserving the integrity of the child. And let's begin to examine when we have to say that no, when we try to avoid it or procrastinate, and when we truly say that and see the outcomes of it. Good luck.